Well, welcome everybody. Happy Monday. So as always, go ahead and start typing your questions into the comment section and we'll get to those. And what I really wanted to focus on today, I've got some housekeeping and some other things I want to share with you, but it's summer, right? And during this time of year, it is very common to experience an increase in symptoms with the skin, because of the weather, sweat, and heat. So I want to talk about that today, and it's been coming up a lot. I've been getting a lot of questions about it from my private clients and from other folks as well. So I do want to dive into that. So a couple of housekeeping items. Number one, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jennifer Brand. I'm a clinical nutritionist. And the focus of my work is that I help children with chronic skin rashes, primarily eczema, as well as other chronic skin rashes. However, eczema really is my specialty. And I help children navigate the journey to healthy skin so that they can enjoy a childhood free from their disruptive skin symptoms. And we do this without more diet restrictions and without relying on skin creams. So those are a couple topics that I can go into in major depth. And if you guys have been here for even just a minute, you probably know that I am not a fan of diet restrictions and taking more foods out of the diet. And in fact, you probably also know, if you've been on this journey for some time with your child, that those strategies and diet restrictions don't solve the problem and can actually make things worse. So that is always something that we can discuss. However, today I really do want to focus more on summer, the heat, and then of course whatever your questions are. Some other things I wanted to mention, in addition to doing this today, I'm going live at noon. It's not here on Instagram, so this is a separate Zoom, more private meeting. So you can register for it though if you haven't yet. Link in my bio, and there's a register button. So I'm going live with my friend and colleague, Caitlin Menjivar. So Caitlin she happens to be a mindset and life coach. She's also a previous client of mine. So her daughter did really, really well in my online course, which is called Conquer Your Child's Rashes. You can learn more about that. There's a link in my bio as well. So the course takes you through my roadmap. So what that is that in the years that I've been doing this work, I have found that there are certain steps that are absolutely necessary to get results with what's happening on your child's skin and to get them that life-changing skin transformation that you dream of for them. And so I've taken these steps and I built a roadmap. And then I took that roadmap and I built an entire course around it. So that course is Conquer Your Child's Rashes Online. So anyway, you can learn more about that. There's a link through my bio. So Caitlin and her daughter started off in the program and did really, really well. And then I started working with Caitlin one-on-one. She wanted some additional support and guidance. She wanted to get the functional testing. She wanted the private support and personalized protocols. So that's always an option for you guys too. So we did that, and she graduated, if you will. So her child got amazing results. And it was in one of our last sessions, and we were just kind of talking about, the results that she had gotten, and so how happy she was and how well her daughter was doing. And she was just talking about these different strategies that she used for herself, because, something that you guys are all very aware of, right? Like, your child's skin problem isn't just a skin problem for them. This impacts you and your family in significant ways. And so Caitlin was just sharing with me some of the strategies that she had implemented during her daughter's healing journey, just so that she could stay strong and keep pushing forward for her daughter. And so as we were talking about this, we just thought that it was going to be an amazing opportunity to have her share her strategies and, what she learned on this journey with her child, with all of you. So I'm going live with Caitlin. That's at noon today, noon Pacific. Link in my bio to register for that. And once you do, there's a Zoom link. So you'll get a Zoom link to that. Even if you can't make it live, register anyway, because we're going to send out access to the replay. And then we're also going to have some special bonuses for you guys. So when you register, and even if you can't make it live, we're going to talk about the bonuses there. But we're also going to send out that replay as well as access to those exciting bonuses. There's one from me and one from Caitlin. So that's at noon Pacific. Again, if you can't make it live, register anyway. We'd love to see you there, and definitely make sure that you get access to the replay and those special bonuses. So that's something that's happening this afternoon as well. So back for today. So again, the reason that I do these lives, this is the third one now that I've done in a row, and I really want to provide you guys with as much support as possible. And, whether that's here or, in my programs, some of you I've worked with one-on-one, some of you are in my online course, and some of you I just get to communicate with here. And whatever that is, whatever kind of communication we have, I want to give you as much support as I possibly can and help guide you on this journey and hold your hand through this. It is extremely challenging. As you guys know, you're in the midst of it. And I really love doing this work, and I love being able to support you. So however that happens, I'm happy to do it. Here on Instagram, always feel free to send me a direct message, comment on my posts, and, even if I'm not working with you one-on-one, I'll give you as much information as I possibly can with the information that I do have to help give you that guidance and support that you need. So thank you for being on this journey and, allowing me to be on this journey with you. This really is living my dream. I get to do this work and I love it. And I love just being able to be supportive and see your children thrive. So always remember that I'm here for that support. So something that I really wanted to talk about today that I'm finding very pertinent right now, because I'm getting a lot of questions about this. I'm hearing this from my clients, and I had a personal experience with this as well. So beating the heat, right? Your child's skin, anybody's skin, but we're talking about your children today, right? But so skin can be triggered by climate change. And certainly when the weather gets warmer, this can be a trigger for a lot of people. So the sun, the heat, the sweat, this can all be extremely irritating for sensitive skin, for broken skin, for skin that is struggling with eczema. So I actually had planned to talk about this today anyway. However, yesterday, I just want to share an experience I had because it connected a couple dots for me that I guess are kind of obvious, but it was just interesting how it came up. So I am allergic to bug bites. I am not sun friendly. I get hives in the summer. So there are a lot of strategies that I use to keep cool. So we'll talk about that too, because this can be really helpful with your child in particular if they are triggered this time of year. But so a couple days ago, so I was hanging out in the backyard with a friend and I got attacked by a mosquito, even though I had some bug lotion on. So I have about 5 mosquito bites up and down one of my legs that, I'm managing with. I have to take Benadryl. I get these welts. It's allergic and it's extremely itchy, painful, like a painful itch. And so anyway, it wasn't really bothering me that much by yesterday. However, I was driving. So I was in the car and it's hot out. And when I got in the car, it was probably 80, 90 degrees outside, which means it's super hot in the car. Turned on the air conditioning, the car finally cooled down. I had it on like 62 in there, so it was nice and cool. However, the heat alone, and then the sun coming in through the window, even though it was cool inside the car, the sun coming in through the window and the heat on my leg extremely exacerbated the itch, and it's like a burning, stabbing itch on my leg where the bites are. Very uncomfortable. So this made me think, and I hear this from a lot of parents, when your child is in the car, in the car seat, this is one of the most challenging things for a lot of parents. And let me know in the comments if you've experienced this as well, but because I hear this a lot, one of the times when it is your child's skin symptoms are most troublesome is when they're in their car seat in the car. Now, the other thing I was thinking about too, it's like, so you have your child in the car seat, typically when they're struggling with rashes, you have them covered from head to toe so they can't scratch, right? Because that's typically helpful to keep them covered. Now, even though the car was cool and there was just something about the air in the car, because of course then once you have the air conditioner on, that can be more drying, right? So having that lack of humidity also, that dryness can trigger the skin. So it was the combination, I think, of the dryness in the car, the sun coming in through the window, just all of that together was super triggering for me. So imagine, and if you're wondering why is where I'm going with this, why your child is so much more uncomfortable in their car seat, it's not because they're not just, they don't have any other distractions necessarily. It's the combination of things that are happening while they're in the car that can increase that itching and that heat and just kind of hold that heat in. So some strategies there. I mean, of course, like ideally not spending a ton of time in the car during this time of year would be ideal. I know we don't want to hear that. It's summertime, road trips and things like that are happening, and that's great, and you should enjoy those. But things to consider, like you can get, those shades to put on the windows so that it can block the sun. Anything you can do to block the sun from coming in through the window. It could be a good idea to moisturize your child really well before getting in the car. So, in case that dryness from the air conditioning is drying out the skin and causing some of that as well. So just some things I wanted to mention about being in the car seat, and why that might be triggering for your child. Now, some other things too. So let's just talk in general about weather change, climate, and, certainly the heat. And it really is interesting because I have some clients that feel like some of my clients do better in the summer and some clients do better in the winter. So everybody is totally different. Now, when we are talking about what's happening in the summer, so let's talk about sweat first, because sweat is definitely something that can make people, certainly when they have eczema, itchier. So sweat, like we actually need to sweat. It helps control our body temperature. So it's a good thing. It's trying to cool us off. As it evaporates, it's cooling the skin. It also does contain natural moisturizing properties for the skin. It also has some properties that are antimicrobial, which can be really helpful because often when we're talking about what's happening on the skin, and certainly something like eczema, we tend to have dysbiosis or an imbalanced skin microbiome. So sweat can actually help kind of control that. But sweat also can be a really common irritant in people that do have chronic skin rashes, certainly something like eczema. And sweat can also increase fluid loss. And in people with eczema, this can actually make the skin drier. And then also there's sodium and other minerals in sweat that can be irritating to really sensitive and broken skin. The buildup of the chemicals that are in sweat, so, in addition to the sodium, there's some other minerals and things in there, and natural chemicals. These things are like natural, like normally healthy, but when we have this, like the rashes on the skin, it can be particularly triggering in some people. And it's really interesting too, because there's research that shows that people who do have eczema have a different composition of their sweat compared to people without eczema. So like those that do have eczema might actually have lower levels of certain substances in their sweat, like the substances that help make those natural moisturizing factors. So they might have less of those. And they also might have less of the factors that contain those natural antimicrobial properties, which can also, this means that it can increase drier skin. So it can increase the chance of having drier skin and the likelihood of having skin infections, which of course this can all cause more itching. Studies have also shown that people with eczema might actually sweat less than people without eczema. And because sweating actually cools the body down when we sweat less, that is an increase, like the skin is retaining more heat. That can also make the skin drier and also make the skin more prone to itching and infection. There's also a link between eczema and an allergic reaction to malassezia. So malassezia is a fungus that is common on the skin. It's actually a common trigger. It's actually a common cause of cradle cap, dandruff. So if your child is experiencing scalp involvement, cradle cap, it could be malassezia. But anyway, so people that do have an increased level of the malassezia on the skin, that along with sweating can actually intensify symptoms, and it can actually be an allergy to the malassezia. So that might be something to check out as well for your child. So there are a lot of connections between the sweat and your child's symptoms being triggered. And also heat in general can make symptoms worse. The skin, when we get hot, it causes a dilation of blood vessels in the skin and throughout the body, but it causes that dilation of the blood vessels, and this triggers inflammation, and inflammation is an underlying driver of eczema. So that's always something to keep in mind as well. And another interesting thing that can happen, and unfortunately can happen during this time of year, sun and itchy skin. So generally speaking, the sun is our friend, right? The sun is really important for us to make vitamin D. Our bodies make vitamin D when sunlight hits our skin, and vitamin D is a super important fat-soluble vitamin. There are a lot of research studies showing a connection between lower levels of vitamin D, worsening of eczema, lower levels of vitamin D, higher colonization of Staph aureus on the skin. A lot of people with eczema have an increased colonization of Staph aureus on the skin, which causes a lot of the skin infections. So if your child does have a lot of skin infections or is experiencing that, it could be the over-colonization of the Staph aureus on the skin. So there is a connection between that happening and lower vitamin D levels as well. So anyway, so the skin is our friend. However, when we do struggle with chronic rashes like eczema, of course, the sun is going to increase heat. We've talked about that. The heat triggers inflammation in the skin, which can trigger the symptoms associated with eczema like the itch. Heat can also cause sweating, and remember we talked about that already too. The sweat can be problematic for really sensitive skin. Some people actually have an allergy to the sun, which can result in hives. It's like a photosensitivity type reaction. I'm actually one of those people. I get hives all summer long. So, that's something to keep in mind too. So if your child is really sensitive, being aware of how the heat, sweat, and the sun might be impacting what's happening with their rashes and with their symptoms. So some of the things that you can do, help your child keep cool. Again, like if you're in the car driving, if they're in the car seat, do what you can to, keep the air on, obviously in the car, house as well, but keep the air on in the car. Get shades like as dark as you possibly can on the back windows to help shield your child from the sun and from that heat. Moisturize them before getting into the car in case it is that drier AC, the air that is drying the climate inside the car, because that can increase the itch as well. Some of the other things too in general, if your child is playing outside this time of year, which we should be able to do, if possible, avoid outside play during the hottest times of the day, which tend to be between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So if that's possible, you can also, this is one of my favorite strategies that I use to help keep myself cool during this time of year. I just keep a washcloth, like a damp washcloth, in the refrigerator, and when it gets really hot and uncomfortable, you can use it like a cool compress, on the back of the neck and on the forehead, so that can be really helpful. Drinking a lot of fluids to stay hydrated, also really important. Cool water, ice water, that can help cool the body down. Wearing loose-fitting clothing and, cotton breathable fabrics can be helpful as well. So those are just some strategies that might be helpful. Also, too, when it comes to moisture in the summer, it changes. So the kind of moisture that you use during different times of the year, it can be really beneficial to switch it up. Like in the summer, because it is warmer, you might do better, your child might do better using like thinner oils and lotions as opposed to like thick creams and ointments, because the lotions and the oils are going to allow the skin to breathe more. The skin is a detox organ. It actually needs to breathe to get things in and out. So those thinner oils and lotions often can be better choices during the summer compared to something that you might use in the winter, like a thicker ointment or cream. Some oils that you might want to try, like jojoba oil is a really good one, and also like an emu oil. So those might be some options to try as well during this time of year. This was really interesting too, and I don't know if I have an answer for this one, but I just want to share it with you because, and let me know if you guys have experienced this too. Let me know in the comments. So I was talking to a client last week, and she used sunscreen on her little girl and went outside. So everywhere that the sunscreen was, where she was then hit by the sun, she broke out in hives. Now, she went back inside, and so basically like the sunscreen was kind of all over, but she was wearing a t-shirt. So where it was hitting her arm, she had hives. She had the sunscreen on other areas of her too, did not get hives in those areas. Inside the house, did not get hives at all with the sunscreen on. She's tried a couple different products. She has tried natural products too. And so we are suspecting, and again, I don't know for sure, haven't had a chance to do the research on this one yet, but I'm thinking, and again, if you guys have any experience with this, I'd love to see in the comments if you have, but some combination of an ingredient in the product, not sure what, again, this was a natural product, did have zinc in it, which is a great sun protectant, also good for the skin, antimicrobial, things like that. But so some combination of something in the product along with exposure to the sun created some sort of irritation on her skin. So that's also something to look out for too. You know, something that can happen, and I think it's kind of similar to, when we're showering, like some children are really triggered by water, and hard water, for example, can be more triggering. So what can happen is there are minerals, in hard water. So I'm equating this to like minerals, ingredients that are in the creams. And when we sweat, get hot, what have you, the skin becomes more sensitive, more easily irritated, and those minerals can actually more easily seep into the broken, sensitive skin and cause irritation. So I think something like that is what's happening with this little girl. So anyway, that just might be something to look out for as well. So I wanted to mention that too. Okay, I'm going to stop there for a second. There were some questions, so I want to go back and take a look at those and get those answered for you guys. Okay. M. Perry 97. Hi. Any suggestions for what to use on my son's eczema that's raw? That is a good question. I would say it would kind of depend. So number one, if it's raw and weepy, and certainly if that weepiness is yellow or kind of pussy looking, or if it gets crusty, it's possible that that's a skin infection. And if that's the case, I would absolutely consult with your doctor. When we have topical skin infections, I highly, highly, highly recommend not doing a do-it-yourself sort of treatment for that and getting medical guidance. When we have infections on the skin, especially on broken skin, that infection can fairly easily enter the bloodstream and result in sepsis. So, and that can become life-threatening. So if the skin is open, broken, raw, I would absolutely check with your doctor, get it checked out, see if there's a skin infection. If so, absolutely address that with antibiotics. You want to avoid any chance of that resulting in sepsis and a potentially life-threatening infection. That said, if it's raw, some people, and it depends, everybody's different, Some people do really well with like a zinc type cream, like even a diaper cream that has zinc in it. So zinc can be really helpful. It does help with itch. So it can be helpful to manage symptoms. And certainly when something is weepy like that, the zinc can help dry it out, because zinc cream and zinc can be kind of drying, but it can be helpful if it's weepy without the infection. So if it's weepy, no infection, zinc, something with zinc in it can be really helpful. Other than that, some things that might be helpful, especially this time of year, you could try like a jojoba oil or a like the emu oil. So those I don't find particularly irritating for people when the skin is raw. Another one of my favorite strategies, and I don't know if you've heard me talk about this one yet or not, my favorite probiotic to use orally, and you can use it topically, is Megaspore Biotic. That can be used on broken skin. So there's a link in my bio about Megaspore Biotic, so you can get it. There's a link there to get it, and also instructions on how to use it, all orally, but as well as topically. So what you would do is take like the emu oil or jojoba oil or whatever your favorite moisturizer is, open a capsule of the Megaspore. You can mix just a little bit of it. You probably don't need that much. If you use too much, it's going to start to feel gritty. And you can apply that to the skin. So because we have a skin microbiome, like a gut microbiome and all the kinds of microbiomes throughout the body, often helping to rebalance that microbiome with this kind of probiotic can be extremely helpful and help the skin heal. So that might be a strategy to try on the raw skin. Other than that, some soothing things you can try too, like maybe a soothing bath would be helpful. If your son isn't allergic to oats, like an oat bath could be helpful. Something else too, there's a link in my bio and it says freebies and resources. So that'll take you to a page of a bunch of different resources that I have. And if you haven't yet, I have a free guide. It's called Ditch the Itch. So you can get access to it through that link. So that might be something to check out too. That goes into detail about what I recommend to use on the skin and what to avoid and why. So that might be something helpful to check out too. I hope that helps. Okay, good question. Okay, and let me see. We also have KitKat824. Hello. Hello, Jennifer. How about kids who actually get hives right after 5 minutes of being outside in the sun? Have you had experience with that, like full body hives from head to toe, also when showering? Yes. So this could potentially be that photosensitivity to the sun. It could be a potential allergy to the sun. In that case, I would do whatever you can to avoid direct sun exposure, especially during the hottest times of the day. Also possibly keeping somewhat covered to avoid, the sunlight hitting the skin. It could be a photosensitivity reaction though, which could actually be an allergy. The other thing too, when the skin, when we have eczema, and the heat. So mention this at the beginning. I don't know if you were on at the beginning, but people with eczema, possibly might be less sweaty and have a less of an ability to sweat. I do hear that from a lot of clients. After we've been working together for some time, then they let me know, oh, my child is sweating now. So, once the skin starts to heal and you resolve those imbalances. But anyway, if your child isn't sweating and their body isn't able to cool off, that can increase heat also inside the body, which, within the skin, and that can trigger inflammation and therefore skin reactions. So I would try to avoid the sun exposure for this time, like at this time, until, you can get in there, resolve the root cause of the problem, and get results, internally, resolve those internal imbalances. And then that will result in improvements externally on the skin. It could also be too just the heat from being outside. I get very uncomfortable in the heat, like immediately if it's hot. And, it's also kind of stressful because it's uncomfortable. Stress increases inflammation, which can trigger rashes and flares and reactions. So that could be something that's happening as well. Also if it is sweat that's triggering, something that you want to do too, and regardless of if it's the hives or if your child is just triggered by the heat and the sunlight, as soon as you come back inside, shower off, get the sweat off the body, dry off. So something like that might be helpful as well. When showering, if your child is sensitive to the water, so this might have to do, like if you do have hard water in your house, you might want to explore like a water softener, because what can happen there is that the minerals in the hard water can get easily absorbed into sensitive skin. Some products that we use topically as well, like even cleansers and things like that, can actually increase like the pull in, like draw in those minerals to the skin. So people that do have really sensitive skin, the soft water and, using products that are pH balanced or noted for sensitive skin can be really helpful. But it could have to do with hard water, so explore getting a water softener. The other thing too that I think of when I hear about sensitivity to water, to the showering. So something, I don't know if you guys are familiar with filaggrin. I talk about it here on Instagram. I talked about it quite a bit a couple weeks ago, I think. So check back in my feed too. There's some information on that. But so there's a protein in the skin. And this protein, it's called filaggrin, and it's really important for building the skin barrier, so for preventing leaky skin. It also helps the skin make its own natural moisturizing factors and, keeps the skin like tight. So people that have eczema tend to have lower levels of this filaggrin protein in the skin. And when that happens, they can be more easily triggered, like even by the water. So what we do for that, there really isn't a test. It's not on the general genetic testing like the 23andMe and things like that. This filaggrin, there's a filaggrin gene that makes the filaggrin protein. Some people have a mutation in that gene. Even people that don't have a mutation in that gene can have lower levels of filaggrin when they're struggling with chronic skin rashes, because the inflammation on the skin also lowers levels of that protein. So what we want to do is support that protein in the skin. We do that with an amino acid called histidine, different than histamine, so don't get those confused. But so histidine is an amino acid that feeds the filaggrin protein to help that protein proliferate, which helps prevent the leaky skin, and helps the skin make its natural moisturizing factors. So something that you can do there are supplements, but you always want to start with diet first. You can't out supplement a diet that's lacking in the first place. So histidine-rich foods are protein-rich foods. So make sure your child's eating a lot of protein. So that might be something that's helpful too. I hope that helps. Okay. Let me see. Other questions. Good Grace's photo. Hello. How to tell the difference between eczema and molluscum on the back of my daughter's legs. She has both. Good question. I think for that, definitely check with your doctor for an appropriate diagnosis. That can be really helpful because depending which it is can make a difference in what kinds of recommendations your practitioner would give, whether that would be me or, another practitioner. But understanding which it actually is can be really helpful in terms of what you might want to try for an intervention. So for that, I would check with your doctor and see what they would recommend and see if they can tell you if it is the molluscum or if it is the eczema. It's also possible to have like the molluscum, kind of on top of the eczema. So that also might be something that's happening as well. I'm so sorry that that's happening with your little one. I hope that's helpful. But yeah, in a case like that, I would definitely check with your doctor and, see if they can give you some guidance as to which it is. And then again, based on which it is, that would give us more information about what we might want to try as a strategy to help address that. In either case, I really do I see a lot of kids with both. And when we are talking about what's happening on the skin, we really are talking about, what's happening internally that is at the root of the problem, and, addressing those imbalances internally and supporting the immune system can help lower that inflammation that, is causing the eczema, and also, strengthening immune function to prevent somebody from being so susceptible to something like molluscum. So I hope that helps. And when I'm talking about those internal imbalances too, this is also something, if you guys have been here for like a hot minute, you probably know I talk a lot about what's happening in the gut and how that impacts what's happening on the skin. And so, think about it this way. Up to 70% of the immune system is located in the gut microbiome. And so when we have imbalances in there, we're very likely to end up with any kind of chronic inflammatory health problem. And then, that can easily show up on the skin in a lot of people. So whether it's eczema, molluscum, any other type of chronic skin issue, skin infection, viral, bacterial infection, fungal infection on the skin, you do, as a root, to address the root cause of the problem, you do always want to take a look at what's happening in the gut microbiome as well. Yeah, I hope that helps. So Kit Kat, follow-up question. Okay, on hives in the sunlight, how do you resolve internal imbalances for that? Would root cause be something internal? Yes, that's a good follow-up question. Just what I was talking about. Yes. So when we're talking about the internal imbalances, again, there is a difference. Like, once somebody has an allergy, sometimes I have seen allergies lessen. I've seen them improve on occasion. Like, I have seen improvements in allergies. I can't say that this work gets rid of allergies completely. I have had clients that have allergies, and after we do this internal work, they don't have issues anymore. So when we are talking about those internal imbalances, the place I would start, if you haven't yet, is look at the gut. There can be a lot of triggering factors for what's happening on the skin, a lot of different triggering factors for allergies, allergic type reactions. But really, when we're talking about these types of the inflammatory reactions, allergic reactions, we are talking about immune system dysfunction. When we're talking about immune system dysfunction, where is the majority of the immune system located? 70% of it's located in the gut. So that's always a good place to start. So I would absolutely recommend checking that out. Now, the best way to do that, to get started with that, is with a comprehensive digestive stool test. This is not a direct-to-consumer stool test, so please don't make this mistake. There are one in particular right now, a very common stool test that has been marketed heavily to kids, for kids. I won't say the name. It's probably pretty obvious because you guys have probably heard about it. What you need to know is that this test, sure, it can provide some interesting information. However, it is not a clinical assessment tool. It is missing critical pieces of information. They're absolutely necessary to get to the root cause of the problem. Do not waste your resources on that testing. It is not going to be helpful. It is not going to get to the root cause of the problem. The test that I use in my practice is called GI Map. It's from Diagnostic Solutions. It is a clinical assessment tool. It's what I use in my practice to help me get the results that I do for my clients. And it is something that I include with my programs and services. So, if you want to learn more about that too, you can go through the link in my bio, and there's a number of links there for all kinds of resources that I have available. And you can also see more about, what it is like to work with me as well, and to get that stool test. I do include that with my programs. But I would absolutely consider exploring what's happening in your child's gut, because that'll help you get to the root cause of the problem for sure. I hope that's helpful. Good question. Jackie A. Linden. Hi, Jackie. So why are certain spots on the body harder to clear? Armpits, back of legs, etc. Good question. Okay. So different areas of the body, well, a couple things. So some areas seem to be more stubborn than others, and that can be for any number of reasons. But like when we're talking about the armpits and the back of the legs, it's possible. Okay, so back to the skin microbiome. So we have a skin microbiome. So we have like all this bacteria and fungi and stuff that live on the skin. When it's in a good balance, it's great. You know, it keeps our skin barrier intact. It keeps the skin pH the way it needs to be, which is slightly acidic. It keeps the skin healthy. It prevents the leaky skin. So certain areas are more heavily colonized by bacteria. Other areas are more heavily colonized by fungal things. So armpits, back of legs, possible. Back of legs can kind of go either way between bacterial or fungal. Armpits tend to be more fungal in nature. Those areas also tend to be areas where it's warmer, more sweat collects. So it could be for those reasons too. So some things that you might want to check out, if your child, especially again this time of year, right? So if those areas are more sweaty, if your child is getting warmer this time of year, those strategies to keep cool can be really important. And, you also might want to explore too, something you can try in those areas. It's sort of like a, little experiment, if you will. Something like a zinc cream, like a diaper rash cream. So I have a lot of my clients try like a diaper rash cream with zinc on some of those trouble spots. Like you could definitely try this on the armpits. And if something like that does help a little bit, you can try it on the back of the legs too. But so if you try like a zinc cream or a diaper rash cream that has zinc and it seems to help a bit, it's possible that there's more fungal involvement in those areas. So that's some data, right, to have that might be helpful for, what you might need to use topically to help. If that doesn't help, something that you can try, there's some products, and I don't know if you've tried any of these, but like there are a few of them, like Skin Smart has a spray, there's a BrioTech spray, there's also the Glad Skin product. So those are more geared to bacterial dysbiosis, like in particular, usually like the Staph aureus. So those products, Glad Skin's a little bit different, but like the BrioTech and the Skin Smart, those types of sprays have hypochlorous acid in them, like sodium hypochlorite. So that is something that is antibacterial. The Glad Skin works a little bit differently. It actually helps, kill off the staph, but it's not like a hypochlorous product. But anyway, so something like a hypochlorous product or the Glad Skin, if that helps, it means that there's likely there is an overgrowth of something bacterial. If like the zinc or diaper rash cream helps, then it's probably something fungal in those areas. In any case, remember that we have these concerns with what's happening on the skin when we have something happening internally, in particular, something happening in the gut that shouldn't be, and imbalances in there. I hope that helps. Good question. Okay, Jessica Shambalt. Hello. Oh, Jessa. Sorry, I have a hard time reading some of these handles sometimes. Hi Jess. Okay, so tips for managing eczema when your child likes to swim. Oh, really good question. Okay, swimming with rashes. I'm glad you asked this. I almost forgot. I wanted to talk about this too. So swimming, we want to be able to swim and enjoy summer. So one of the strategies that you can try, this is probably the primary one to try, I would say about an hour before going swimming, what you want to do is lather your child up with like a thick ointment. So this is an example, like I was saying, during summer, earlier on, that during summer you probably want to use like thinner oils and lotions instead of the thicker ointments and creams. However, swimming is different. So lather them up with like a thick ointment or cream about an hour before swimming and let them swim. It actually acts as a barrier, so it prevents like the chlorine, from getting in, which by the way, some people do really well. Some people do better like in salt water at the beach. Some people do better in the pool with chlorine. Chlorine has sodium hypochlorite in it, by the way, which, can be antimicrobial and antibacterial, so that's why it can be helpful. But anyway, if swimming is irritating for your child, put that ointment or cream on an hour before swimming. It actually acts like a barrier, so it can prevent the minerals, the irritating chemicals, whatever it is in the water from, getting into the broken sensitive skin. So that can be helpful. And then what you would want to do is as soon as possible after swimming, wash them off and then, reapply whatever moisture works best. But so that might be something to do with the swimming. And a lot of people do find that really helpful. I hope that helps. Chlorine, yes. So try like the thicker ointment or cream and see if that helps. Definitely. Okay. All right. Awesome. Any other questions that you guys have for today? Really good questions today. I hope this was helpful. My pleasure. I'm always happy to help. All right. Hey guys. Hi everyone. Okay, I'm going to be wrapping up. Hey Jen, it's good to see you. Oh, hi. I haven't seen you in a long time. Hi Jen. I know Jen. Hi. It's good to see you. Awesome. All right. Oh, my mom's here too. Hey mom. All right. So I'm going to start wrapping this up. In case you missed it, I am going live. Oh, mold. Okay, mold. Can you talk a bit more about that? Love you too, Jen. Mold. Okay, that can become a very long conversation. What I will say is that if you suspect mold, I would definitely work with a practitioner to check this out. Mold is not, in my opinion, necessarily a root cause because it can be a trigger for sure. So the reason I say that I don't really see it as a root cause is because typically what I see is that you got a household of people and, maybe there's some mold and a child is struggling with eczema, but everybody else in the house is okay. So what I ask, like kind of myself really, but like, why is this one person more triggered than everybody else? Like what is going on with their immune system that is making them more reactive compared to everybody else? So in a case like that, again, I would work on addressing root cause issues, root cause imbalances. That person's immune system is like hyperstimulated, hyperreactive. Check out what's happening in the gut. The other thing too with mold, if you have mold, absolutely get that taken care of. It's just not good for anybody. But that said, one of the signs would be like if your child is, for example, in the house, in the environment, whatever it is, and you leave that environment and you're somewhere else and their symptoms improve and you come back and symptoms come back. So something like that would lead me to believe there's something in that home environment that's triggering. So you definitely would want to check that out. For example, I've had a number of clients where, the whole family, for example, I'm thinking of one family in particular, they knew they had mold and, they were working on it. And of course, it's really expensive and tedious to remediate. But so they knew they were working on getting it taken care of. And kind of around that time, they also all as a family, went out of town for, a number of weeks. They were gone. And they all felt better outside of the house. As soon as they came back, pretty much immediately, they all started having different symptoms again. And the kids, rashes were flaring. So, in cases like that, I think it would be really important to start exploring if mold is an issue. It's definitely not a do-it-yourself situation. When I do have clients that have the mold, the issue with the mold, that can also increase like other fungal involvement in the body. It's associated with candida and, some other overgrowth of fungal stuff that can happen, systemically. So you definitely want to work with a practitioner. You would want to take care of it in the environment, get that appropriately remediated, and then also work on, what's happening with the imbalances with your child and get that resolved. And then, of course, a practitioner that understands how to do all of that can help you get to the bottom of it and, take care of the potential mold as a trigger as well as the other imbalances that are creating that environment that is causing your child, that person, your child to become more reactive than they potentially should be to something like that. I hope that helps. But you never really want to address like just mold. or, just candida or just whatever it is, there's, again, a reason why somebody's body is triggered by all of these things. And so it's finding that root cause as to why that person's immune system is so hyper reactive, and being able to calm that down to help them be able to handle potential triggers that they come in contact with. Because the reality is, I mean, your children are going to be continuously exposed to things throughout their life in the environment. It's just, we all are. And so, we want to strengthen them from the inside out so that their bodies are more able to tolerate, what's happening out here. And we do that by starting with what's happening inside. And it's very possible to do that. That's what I do with my clients. So I hope that helps with the mold. But yeah, that can be a really tricky one. So I would definitely work with a practitioner to really help you suss that out and see what the best next steps are for your child. Another thing with that too, a lot of people go for the mold testing, the mycotoxin testing. That can be helpful, but I would say, like, if you suspect mold, I would get a GI map, comprehensive digestive stool test, and I would go with an OAT, and urinary organic acid testing, because that can give you some clues, and those are going to be more holistically helpful than just getting a mycotoxin test. So mycotoxin testing looks for mold exposure, like in the urine for that person. And, if that comes back positive, for example, maybe it's in your house, maybe it's outside, maybe it's in the environment, maybe it's at school, daycare, whatever, you don't really know. So it doesn't give you a lot of answers, whereas something like if you were going to do a urinary organic acids testing, it will give you clues if there's mold involvement, but a lot of information otherwise that can help you resolve some of those root cause issues to strengthen that person's immune function to make them less sensitive to things. Okay, so I hope that helps. Okay, let's see how it affects the GI tract. Oh, the mold. Yes. Okay, so I got into that a little bit. So with the GI tract, the mold, it can increase colonization of like other fungal species like Candida and some others. And so often too, when we're talking about fungal stuff, it doesn't often show up in the gut testing because it has to be significantly overgrown in the gut for that to happen. It does show up more readily systemically, which is why that urinary organic acids testing can be helpful. However, I will say too, like, for example, if we were working together, like we would have a deeper conversation about this, I would suspect it. So I would do a GI map, see what that says, see what kind of information it gives us, and also address, because there are other clues too, like if there's mold, if your child has cradle cap, there are these different signs, like the armpit involvement that we talked about. There are things that allude to a fungal component. And so, what we can do is, based on all of that information, we get the gut testing, complete health history, so we understand what's happening holistically and address it that way. But so it can cause overgrowth in the GI tract, but even if we don't see it there, it can cause overgrowth of fungal things systemically. It can also, cause colonization of, mold within the body. So there are a number of different things that can happen. I hope that's helpful. Good question. Okay, Jen. Yes, Jen. Hey. Okay. All right. Blackie Bear. So Megaspore is on the expensive side for our budget. Do you have a probiotic recommendations for low or mid-budget? Megaspore really is my go-to. It makes a difference. And, something to think about it, and, think about it this way. That is the probiotic that I find most helpful. I have tried lots of other probiotics with kids in my practice. I've helped hundreds of children, get to the root cause of the problem and, resolve what's happening on their skin. Megaspore is like on 99.9% of my client protocols. So if you think about it as an investment in really fixing the problem, I would think about it that way. Otherwise, the other types of probiotics out there, I have not found them helpful. I just haven't. I know there's a lot of research. I have a guide too, actually. If you go through the link in my bio, the freebies and resources button, one of my freebies is called The Probiotic Mistake. So it talks about a lot of other probiotics that have been researched for use with eczema. I've tried those in my practice. I have not seen them particularly helpful, to be honest with you. The Megaspore seems to make the biggest difference. The other thing to keep in mind is that a probiotic alone is not going to solve the problem. You need to look at everything holistically in there and address everything holistically. So the way to do that is to get the comprehensive digestive stool test and make sure that you're taking care of everything. So a lot of people, think that, okay, a probiotic gonna solve the problem. It's not. There are a lot of different pieces to the puzzle that need to be addressed, but I would strongly consider making the investment in Megaspore because it can really make a difference. And the good thing about Megaspore also is that you can also use it topically, and that's really helpful for a lot of my clients. So check out that probiotic guide. So again, link in my bio, that's under the freebie and resources link. And then also link in my bio, there's a Megaspore link, and it talks about how to dose it orally as well as use it topically. So definitely check that out. That's a really good question. And Jen, your son is struggling with anxiety. There really can be a gut component to that as well. So yeah, that would be something that we can definitely talk about for sure. There's the gut-brain connection too, and there's a pretty strong connection there. So that might be something to explore. Jess, will we be able to go back and watch this again? Yes, I'm going to save this so it'll be here on my page as long as I save it right, which I haven't messed it up yet. It's happened before and I've lost the whole thing. So I've got it prepared. I'm just gonna share it as soon as this is over. So it'll be there. That's my goal. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Megaspore is my favorite too. Nutrition with Shilpa. Hey Shilpa, hi. It's good to see you. Yeah, I love Megaspore. It's fantastic. It's really my go-to. I've been taking it myself for years as well. Nutrition with Shilpa. I also use Orthospore IG. Yes. Okay. So there is a similar product. Good point. So Ortho Molecular has a product too. It's called Orthospore. It's similar. I think there's some others too, like Designs for Health has a spore-based one. I really find Megaspore most helpful. It is my go-to, but you guys can also check out, there's the Orthospore, and then Designs for Health. I forget what it's called, Probiospore maybe. There's another link in my bio for full script professional grade supplements. So you guys can always check that out, sign up for a free account, and you can search for all these products in there as well. So you can check those out too. Yes, thank you, Shilpa. That's a good point. And then Blackie Bear, are the gummies good as well? Okay, so the Megaspore gummies, they taste delicious. They're really good. They are not as potent, okay? They have, the Megaspore has 4 strains of the spores in it, and you can use it topically. The gummies, I think, only have 3, I believe. It's not as potent. I would recommend going with the capsules, and then you can always use the gummies kind of like a extra little treat. Or if you want to do, I don't know how old your child is, but if your child is 2 and up, you can do the full dose of the Megaspore, which is 2 caps a day. So sometimes I have clients, I prefer the full dose of the Megaspore. If they're under 2, you can work up to 1 cap. So some clients, I'll be like, okay, fine, you can do the regular dose of the Megaspore as much as possible. If you want to incorporate the gummies, you can kind of mix it up with those. But I would definitely go with the caps when possible. All right, guys. Thank you. This is absolutely fantastic. I hope this is fantastic for you. I had a great time seeing all of you here, so it was good for me. Hope it was good for you guys. So a couple things. So I'm going live in an hour again with Caitlin, my friend and colleague, Caitlin Menhavar. We're going to be talking about balancing your emotions and your child's skin. When your child is struggling with skin rashes, this is not just a skin problem for them. This is something that they struggle with, that you struggle with as well. And so we're going to offer some support and guidance and strategies to help you stay strong on your child's healing journey. So I hope you can join us. If you haven't registered for that yet, go through the link in my bio and click register. And even if you can't make it live, you'll get access to the replay. So the plan is to send that out later today. And when we do, as long as you register, whether or not you can attend, we have some special bonuses for you. So we're going to send those out as well, along with the replay later this afternoon. I'm trying to think if there's any other housekeeping before I head off. Let's see. I think that's all I'm going to say for today. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Yay, Kate. Oh, Caitlin's here. Yes. See you in an hour. And Jenna, yes, I am going to post this as soon as we are done here. So yes, that's the plan. I'm going to post this so you can watch it later. Other things. I know I'm forgetting so many things. Anyway, link through my bio. I've got all kinds of resources there available for you guys. Check that out. Oh, what I want to mention too, I plan on doing these fairly regularly. I've been doing them. This is like the third Monday in a row. So this is kind of like the day and time where I'm going to be doing these. And if you guys are on my newsletter, you'll get reminders for this too. I try to pop in here and like give a little reminder and let you guys know. Link in my bio. There's a link to sign up for my newsletter to make sure that you're in the loop. So to get the reminders, I'm not going to do this next week because the holiday, but I'll probably start it up again like the week after. So definitely get on my newsletter so you'll see that. Oh, and another housekeeping thing. Eczema Expo is next weekend, or this coming weekend in Denver. So it's the 27th through the 30th. It's the National Eczema Association. I'm going. So if any of you guys are going to be there, send me a DM and let me know. I'd love to see if we can meet up in person and say hi. So yeah, Eczema Expo is happening. It's the 27th through 30th in Denver. So hopefully I'll see you guys there too. All right, I'm going to head off. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you for being here. Hope to see you at noon. And then probably in about 2 weeks here again. Thanks everyone. Bye.